Barbican Falls, including 3 fresh regiments of Kazakhstan. They know this district and its alleyways inside out. There are false streets that lead to dead ends, courtyards we've sealed off with steel portcullises to create killboxes. Else, half the street signs have been changed around so they can't be followed. House-to-house fighting where every hab is a hardened bunker. It's going to be bad for the hounds, especially with their combat doctrine. We'll break them into small groups and annihilate them. Add another 24 hours of delay, but that's still not the endgame. He slapped the tip of the stylus on the open space just ahead of his new command bastion, behind the warren of streets. The northern muster field. Here's where it will be decided. Whatever remains of the traitorous assault, with luck even Urkanthos himself, will break through and strike the Cadian 8th under my personal command. Our plan will be to encircle and destroy. They will be taking enfilading fire from both flanks, courtesy of the wall guns sectioning off this muster field. Canoness Eleanor, if you would do my troopers the honor of deploying in their center before the command bastion, I'm sure they would appreciate both your firepower and calming presence. Master Corahale, given that you have been operating with the Iron Wolves, I had hoped your 4th Company would deploy with them on the right, and Lieutenant Ashar, your demi-company, on the left. Armor, asked Highfell. I mean besides ours. I have some partial regiments we can throw into the flanks, sighed Creed. But many have to be positioned at other gates in case of simultaneous assault or hardened push elsewhere. They're devilish exposed on this open field. I'll commit some, though in the main this will be an infantry brawl. What about the Mechanicus? Growled Corahale. I do not see your Magos clan here. Magos clan has requested that his Skitari Maniple deploy within the Egressium Gate at the foot of the command bastion, guarding the passages to the null array. I agreed. The Knights of House Raven, sadly, are engaged elsewhere. Creed turned to Crank, advancing the hollow projection eastward, where giants roamed. Baroness Vardis has successfully delayed the advance of the Legio Volcanum in the east at great cost to her household. But Volcanum is still nearly in range of the Citadel. There is a very, very large warlord class with them, which she cannot realistically stop. What if we commit air support? Asked Highfell. The largest beasts are still prey to raptors. Creed blew air out through his lips, as if leaking cigar smoke, though his stub lay cold in an ashtray. Already committed. I greenlit a series of strike packages suggested by Air Marshal Shroud, and I am pleased to report that the Valkyries of the Howling 119th have managed to disable the tainted behemoth. When can they be back here to support our own operations? Asked Eleanor. They won't be. The 119th consisted of only a dozen operational machines when Colonel Stracker volunteered for the strike. It was a martyrdom mission. He personally took the warlord offline by diving his aircraft into the Titan's command room. Silence. The 119th effectively no longer exists. Apart from aircraft and crews grounded due to damage, it's non-operational. I've transferred all active crews to the 8th Support Wing. I ordered them destroyed, so I'll take in the survivors. We have awarded the slain crewman the Iron Gate First Class, said Kel, and Clavin Stracker the Star of Terror. Our air support situation has not improved then, Corahale mused. Kel was amazed by the Master's seemingly endless pessimism. We have scratch companies of Space Marines fighting under scratch companies of Air Wings, and civilian militias holding the gates. When is this madness to begin? The preparation should be complete in the next 12 hours. The salvation bunkers can be notified and set to roll open within 4 to 6 hours notice of Urkanthos committing his forces. That should provide plenty of time to... But out before the Cregan gates, an ink-dark bolt of lightning slammed to the ground. It rent the sky in two, as if cracking reality and exposing the void beyond. Darkness rushed from it, covering the sky. All along the walls and through the fortified city, spotterlights snapped on to search for targets, then went orange and died. Power cells sapped. The holotable in front of them blinked like a man falling asleep under sedation, then went dark. "With respect, Lord Castellan," said Odric Ashar, "I do not think we have 12 hours. 3. Sable lightning slammed Ercanthos into the burnt planetary crust of Cadia, the etheric teleportation burrowing through the hill of corpses heaped before the Cregan gates. It blew Cadian and cultist bodies aside as it struck, their mouths and eye sockets briefly alight with warp fire, jaws working in a silent chant. When it struck topsoil, it fused the earth to glass for 50 feet in every direction. Ercanthos knelt, buried underneath the charnel heap, breathing the atmosphere he'd sworn to burn, feeling the trickle of spilled vitae running down the corpse mound like light rain dribbling through a forest canopy. "Master," said Artesia, and he could feel the chill shade of her slipping through the hot darkness, fed by the blood. She settled on his shoulders, and he let her bite. "It is time to show them your glory, all of them above and below." His taloned feet hammered down, bunched shoulder muscles heaving upward so the corpses, still jittering in their electrified spasms, tumbled away from his rising form. As he broke air, he pulled his axe free, scattering bodies. He stretched his tree-trunk limbs and shadow wings wide. "Blood!" he bellowed, for he knew nothing else to say. "Blood!" And in a micro-instant of cognition, a thing sensed and known rather than seen, he knew that the corpses around him, with their burning eye sockets and gaping warp-fire mouths, were not randomly seizing with the electrical strike. No. Their mouths were opening and closing, trying to speak with empty lungs and tongues that snapped sparks and glowed with the energy of the true reality. "Blood," the dead mouthed. "Blood, blood, blood." Around him, his hounds of Abaddon took up the cry in a chant, not screeching or howling, but deep and bass-filled as a war horn. "Blood, blood, blood." Until the word had no meaning, only a driving sound that was near a weapon in itself. Ercanthos made no speech, rallied no troops, and told them no plan. There was no need. He promised them the only thing they desired. "You will have blood." And then he was bounding across the battlefield, crawling three-limbed over heaps of Cadian and Cornate dead, a bulwark of the slain heaped in front of the murderous wall guns of the Cregan gates. They were but obstacles. Cold blood, tacky and coagulated, displeasing to him and his god. No, not his god. To him. For as Ercanthos tore towards the Cregan gates, smelling blood and crushing skulls beneath his feet, his oneness with Khorne came upon him like a violent storm. He had not been mortal for eons, yet now he was so much more and less than he had been. Before he had used the warp like a ship catches the wind in its sail to propel its keel through the water. No more. Now he was the wind. He was a part of Khorne himself. A dazzling barrage of energy beams lanced from the walls, stinging his skin and punching clean holes through the hounds around him. Arcing shells cracked open above them, showering burning chemicals that warped armor and scalded flesh. Las cannons, volcano lances, incendiary phosphor shells. Things that burned and cauterized, incinerated warriors and left behind smears of greasy ash. Weapons that shed no blood. It enraged Ercanthos. that the enemy, these pathetic flesh bags which existed only as offerings to him, had stolen from him the substance of worship. That each drop of blood burned to carcinogenic, invisible particles was one Khorne would never taste. He dived into the Aegis line, kicking aside a shield emplacement and impaling the soldier behind it on his foot's long foreclaws. A dug-in hellhound spewed fire at him point-blank, immolating a squad of Cadian infantry in its panicked discharge of the Inferno cannon. Acanthos sliced out with his axe and severed the turret from the tank's chassis as if striking the head from a man, then roared in indignant fury as the severed promethium lines ignited and filled the vehicle with flame. No blood. No blood. He sunk his taloned hand into the yielding steel of the wreck and levered himself over it in a jump, landing on 3 men in the communication trench, their ruptured insides bursting from their skins like he'd crushed rotten fruit. The rest of the squad scrambled backwards, peppering him with panicked snapshots. He unhinged his jaw and spewed a torrent of pins and razors that rent them, stripping one side of them down to the bone and painting the trench with a fantail of gore. The magic of taking what should be within and bringing it without, of exposing a thing down to its barest components. His hounds surged over the Aegis line behind him, chain axes keening songs of praise to the taker of skulls, each bolt pistol discharge throwing vitae that sanctified the air and blessed the earth when it fell like rain. The momentary relief of the violence soothed him, before a yellow dart sliced into the trench to his left, and Artesia barely had time to cloak him with her wings before the defenses around him ignited in nuclear fire. Hounds died, flesh burned to ash by the superheated air, or lifted into the sky as living warriors and falling to earth as dead statues fused inside their armor. In the past, Acanthos had been driven deeper to rage madness at the loss of his brothers. The precious hounds who had followed him since the day they turned on the false emperor. Each kill he'd made after suffering a loss like this one had been a lamentation, an expression of anguish, grief channeled through his axe. Now, he cared not. He was not one of them, and they were the worst kind of fools to look at him as their leader rather than their harvester. Each was a tool that helped spill more of the carmine promethium that fueled his blazing fire, and who would, as they fell, spill their own contribution to his magnificence. But burned, they were wasted, stolen from him. "Artillery!" he howled, both yelling the order and forcing it upon the minds of his war engines and up to the ships. "Explosives here!" As he darted towards the storm sword super heavy that had immolated his men, the first barrage began to fall among the retreating Cadians and the berserkers that hacked at them. High explosive rounds, built to maim and disembowel, flayed Cadians and hounds alike with brass shrapnel. Airbursts coughed down cones of rusty spikes that nailed flesh to dirt and flakboard walls. The storm sword tried to back off, stinging him with twin streams of las cannon fire. Ground shuddered and spat beneath him, and he realized he was galloping across a strip of landmines. But his muscles were swollen hard with the fresh infusion of slaughter, and he barely felt the detonations. Axeblade met tank glacis, and in the moment before the strike, Goremouth sliced her wings in on either side of the weapon, scoring guide cuts in the steel that the butcher blade cracked open. The armor crumpled inward, like a ground car hitting a lumen pole at full speed, the front of the super-heavy tank collapsing in a V-shaped gouge. Acanthos felt the driver, hull gunner, and loader crushed between the front and outer bulkhead. Felt a pleasant sparkle of pain on his side as the gunner manning the dual-heavy bolters on his left held down the trigger in an unthinking spasm as shattered ribs punctured his organs. Deep inside, shells began to roll loose. Crew screamed. Acanthos did not wait. He leapt straight upward, Artesia beating her shadow wings to propel him the last leap to the golden wall of the Cregan gates, where he sank his axe deep and began to climb. "Blow the gates!" he bellowed, as a salvo of orbital fire threw debris into the air behind him, pulverizing the sacrifices he had brought Khorne. "Raptors, to me!" Climbing upward, claw, axe, claw, axe, claw, axe. Gold plating and stone rubble rained on him with every smashing handhold. Defenders on the wall's fighting parapet, spitting down at him with las fire. Shoulder-fired crack missiles streaking by, tickling him with their cotton twists of contrail. Artesia battered the ordnance away with semi-corporeal flicks, so they went tumbling and careening towards the ground. "Blood! Blood! Blood!" One slammed into his shoulder and detonated, and it was like boiling water had scalded him across his back. He howled with pain, but it turned to elation as he saw his own hot blood splash the golden bas-reliefs of human ancestors, baptizing them with what was within, just as he would their descendants on the wall top. He clawed up 3 more handholds and grabbed a macro cannon protruding from the wall face. Laughing, he wrapped the barrel under one arm and levered it down like a wrestler breaking a limb, pushing with all his atrocity-fueled strength as stone cracked and rebar strained like ligaments. The artillery piece, barrel, breech, firing platform, and all, came out of the wall, carrying a square of rockreed with it. Panicked artillery troopers tumbled screaming into the air and dropped 20 stories to the slaughter pit of the melee below. Then Ercanthos swung inside to the sounds of wailing, and the banquet of red, sticky delights began. Westall had his accident during Helska's time at the Hostile Environment Training School on Prosan. The first time she'd lost a trooper under her command. Prosan was a blasted world in the Cadian system, supposedly spoiled in a long-ago war. Cooked hardpan flats and craggy mountains of volcanic glass, drifting radstorms that could blow up without warning. They had to wear fully sealed environment suits just to complete the daily formation marches and mock battles. It was what she'd imagined a world would be like in the wake of an exterminatus. Westall was a special weapons operator, a veteran, dependable. Far more dependable than the 21-year-old Helska, who was fresh out of the St. Gethsemane Infantry College and building command hours to take the captaincy exam. Perhaps it was those years of service that had killed him. Westall, nearly 40, boasted that he'd fought in 3 war zones and never suffered an overheat. He lavished his weapon with preventative maintenance, often obtaining passes to continue cleaning its coils and praying to the machine spirit long past lights out. He knew how heavy to go on the trigger. But all 3 combat stripes on his sleeve came from temperate zones. Prosan was different, and his muscle memory did not adjust to the reality of its baking atmosphere. His plasma gun failed him their second day, as they lay on the rim of a volcanic crater, firing at the mobile target servitors buzzing around the floor of the caldera below. Helska sprinted to him as soon as she saw the vent of blue-white flare, an image that licked and twirled like flame but was there and gone in the same way as a lightning strike. She got to him fast enough to see the plastic and rubberine suit still running and bubbling like liquid on his raw red underskin. His face was charred on one side, and it cracked, revealing pink underneath as he screamed. He was rolling, beating at the suit hardening on him. Teeth on the right side of his mouth had cracked in the heat discharge. He threw off his heavy rubberine gloves, which were smoking. His lovingly maintained plasma gun lay in the rocky soil, spitting liquid solar fire from its burst pipe coils that fried the earth. Helska saw it just before it happened. Westall, insensate, rolled over the rim of the crater in his panic and pain. Only when his legs slid into space did he try to grab hold of the edge. It would have been kinder to let him fall. But Helska didn't want to lose a man. Especially not as good a man as Westall. That was not what a good officer did. She grabbed his reaching bare hands. "I have you, Westall! I have you!" But to her horror, Westall still fell, the skin of his hands and arms stripping away, as though he were wearing a lady's pair of long evening gloves and was sliding out of them, and leaving Helska with empty sleeves, marked with the skull and gate tattoos of Acadian veteran. For that reason, she'd been grateful that after calling for her uncle's plasma pistol, she had not yet found cause to use it. The day Cadet Lieutenant Zander fell had been the last frontal assault. The enemy seemed to have lost the taste for it. Instead, they launched a series of sabotage operations and flanking maneuvers. Volskani sappers conducted night raids on the bastion walls, trying to blow their way in and spike the guns that cost them so heavily on each approach. They conducted fire-and-move artillery strikes with field guns limbered to the back of their equine monsters. Artillery crews had spotted several large cargo haulers pulling into the valley where the archenemy staged their attacks. Clearly, they were stocking up for a big push. Then, for the last 2 days, it had been mountain war. 2 units of Volskani pioneer companies had managed to hook around and find a line of ascent up the northern face of Rosvar's dagger. If it had not been for the artillery observers who had been living in the observation post since their arrival, and the warning they voxed before the Volskani butchered them, the pioneers might have seized the heights above the Cleve and rained lasfire and grenades on the forces guarding the roadway. As it was, Sergeant Plyn and his snipers had caught them on the rock face, slowing them long enough for Captain Kyung and his Alpine company to respond. But now, Kyung was stationed up there permanently in case of a repeat, which meant fewer lasguns on the roadway barricade when the cargo haulers came. Not as a supply convoy, but as a weapon. "The wheels!" Helska shouted into the Vox amplifier, standing like a tank commander in the open hatch of a dead chimera. "Not the driver! Target the wheels!" Tall and wide as a 2-story bunker hab, long as a train car, the huge vehicle barreled towards them, engines growling with promethium hunger. Lasfire spanged off the slab panels welded to the driver's windscreen. A multi-laser sketched a burning orange line across the grille, popping one of the head lumens that had kept doused so they didn't see it coming. Heavy bolter shells chewed roadway and popped the front tires. A missile landed short and skipped across the rockreed like a stone on a lake, missing the vehicle entirely. The machine hurtled on towards them on the wheel rims, sparks fountaining on either side. It stationed up there permanently in case of a repeat, which meant fewer lasguns on the roadway barricade when the cargo haulers came. Not as a supply convoy, but as a weapon. "The wheels!" Helska shouted into the Vox amplifier, standing like a tank commander in the open hatch of a dead chimera. "Not the driver! Target the wheels!" Tall and wide as a 2-story bunker hab, long as a train car, the huge vehicle barreled towards them, engines growling with promethium hunger. Lasfire spanged off the slab panels welded to the driver's windscreen. A multi-laser sketched a burning orange line across the grille, popping one of the head lumens that had kept doused so they didn't see it coming. Heavy bolter shells chewed roadway and popped the front tires. A missile landed short and skipped across the rockreed like a stone on a lake, missing the vehicle entirely. The machine hurtled on towards them on the wheel rims, sparks fountaining on either side. The trenches would be no impediment. They were mere grave ditches now, collapsed and stuffed with enemy dead. Helska's hands shook as she raised the plasma pistol, thumb sliding the charge dial forward. Felt her tongue retreat into a knot in her throat as the gun began to hum in her fist like a living thing. When she'd taken it out of the case after receiving it at her uncle's flag ceremony, the only time she'd done so, until the Cleve, she'd been so afraid of it, she'd assembled it with the coil in backwards. The hauler was nearly in pistol range. Autocannon rounds punched through the improvised armor of the crew bay, and in response it blasted its horns in defiance, filthy steam pouring from its chimney vents. Helska laid her finger on the trigger, watched each coil flare and turn from neon blue to overcooked white. Tick, 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 tick. "Sir," Reviewer said, tugging a sleeve. "Sir, we should withdraw." "Not now." She took a breath, held it, tried to control the shake of both hand and pistol. A red warning rune winked on, a keening tone nearly covered by another air horn wail from the hauler. Helska slammed her finger all the way down. White-hot solar energy lanced from the pistol. The recoil of the discharge was massive, and the shot climbed higher than she'd anticipated, striking the fender just above the right wheel, spalling away plasteel that dropped molten and hardened in the cold air. Only because the overcharge stream was so long was she able to walk it down to liquefy the 3 deep metal wheel rims on its right side. It hit the trenches, already canting to one side, the shallow ditch making it heel over like an equine with a broken leg. Stress metal groaned as the driver's cab rolled over, the momentum of the cargo container behind crushing the crew compartment against the ground as it tried to follow, then itself wallowed sideways with a double wham, wham, as the whole smoking vehicle rolled onto its side, then its roof. "Engineers!" Helska voxed over the cheers and applause. "Secure that! It has improvised ordnance! Disable it before it—" Helska was never able to finish the order. Over the cheers, she heard the hammer of quad guns and crew weapons high up in the bunker walls, shooting at something now screened by the bulk of the crashed hauler. Vox bleats sounded in a microbead. "Approach! Grid 9-2 Alpha! Thrawn! It's another one! Different angle of approach! Fleck! It's under my field of fire! I can't get a beat!" Helska only saw it just as it came around the head of the wrecked hauler. Another cargo vehicle, cutting not right at them but diagonally across the mouth of the cleave, towards the undamaged Southern Artillery Barbican. This hauler was not only armoured, but also covered with wire mesh nets that held barrels and cylinder bundles to its body. Tube charges. "Vehicle bomb!" Helska barked into a microbead. She was already swinging down the tank hatch and hauling it closed. Dropping so fast, she accidentally booted Udza, standing below so Helska could use the wired handset in the cheek. "Cover! Cover! Cover!" The blast wave lifted the front of the Chimera Hulk into the air, tilting it backwards onto its rear track angle before dropping it back down with a swaying jolt. Helska disentangled herself from the heap of struggling bodies that was her command squad. Someone was swearing about a limb fracture. She ignored it and looked out the driver's slit. A 5-story hole, bigger than any artillery strike, had been carved out of the southern Barbican. Rockreed had shelved away into a scree slope, the interior floors of the hive bunker defenses exposed. In one compartment, an artillery crew continued to work the gun carriage of their heavy mortar, their hyper-focus of loading and firing unaffected by the damage. One floor down, a shell-shocked trooper stumbled towards the light. His uniform jacket had been torn right off his back by the blast, and a scalp injury covered his face in blood, as if he wore a red veil. He stepped unthinkingly off the edge, and dropped 4 casements down onto the scree, where the boots of a Volskani storming party trampled him. 24! Helska said into a microbead. She slammed the hatch stud at the back of the Chimera. "Move to repel! Southern Barbican! Clear it room by room! And fix bayonets!" The archenemy was inside, and it was a blade fight now. She drew her power sword and stoked the plasma coils to a humming brightness. Had Trazyn been around Creed's command table, discussing the vulnerability of Abaddon's command structure, he would have found the present situation darkly humorous. After all, Creed had made a similar gamble by posting the Cadian 33rd Infantry before the Cregan gates. Famed for their resolve, it was well known that the unit's high morale was due to the inspirational leadership of their longtime commander, Colonel Vickham Deshane. So when the Raptor Pack dived down on the fighting platform of the Krieg Barbican, murdering his command squad and plucking the colonel into the air, the regiment lost its most crucial asset. Still, the 33rd might have held, fought to avenge their beloved officer, but the Raptors knew their art, and their art was terror. They did not kill Vickham Deshane, not immediately. First, they dangled him above the trenches by his arms, kicking and twisting like a prey rodent, their Vox pickups amplifying his sobbing, pleading final words. When they were sure the whole regiment was watching, they began to tear Deshane apart, dropping his blood like rain, letting pieces of him fall across the trenches. Each agonized moment broadcast and recorded, so his screams continued long after he was nothing but a red skeleton. Then, Chaos fleet guns pounded down onto the combat in a fresh barrage, killing Chaos Space Marines and Guardsmen alike. The 33rd broke. Not in the well-ordered fighting retreat that characterized the withdrawal across the Craft Plains, but a full rout, dropping lasguns and stripping equipment, abandoning trenches and vehicles. The Cadian 9th, their heavy weapon stations now unsupported by infantry, followed. Berserkers soared into their backs as they ran, caught them with bolt fire as they clambered out of trenches and ran across open ground, stripping helmets and armor in an attempt to get to the few open slab hatches that would take them through the wall. None open to them. Trazin shook his hooded head, clicking. They have breaching charges on the gates. It's over here. Handmaster, take us to the next line. Behind him, his personal death mark closed the oubliette and prepared to translate inside Craft Citadel. Cervantes Glaive looked out of the firing slit in the third-floor bunker hab and saw the Cregan gates bow inward as the breaching explosives blew. "The held," he said. "Thrown. They actually held." "Don't be so sure," said Sergeant Veskaj, bending down to put his head next to Glaive. "Look!" The doors were opening, slowly propelled by crowds of tiny, black-armored figures at their base. Countless squads of traitor space marines manually pushing the Cyclopean doors inward, foot by foot. Hundreds of Black Legion troops poured in, like a dam gate releasing floodwaters. Raptors zipped through, breaking off in packs towards predetermined targets. Insectile war machines and demon engines ground forward, heedless of mashing their own troops beneath their tracks. That was when Creed's surprise fired. 2 full-armored regiments lined up, their cannons pre-zero to the Cregan gates. Valkyries hovering, ready to loose ordnance. "Fire!" said Stitcher Kristen. "Fire, you bastards! Fire!" Blast shock pounded backwards through the craft outhabs, the sound ricocheting through the alleyways in successive claps that deafened troopers not wearing their helmets with their audio baffling. Earthshaker shells, melter shells from heavy mortars. Valkyries sent Hellstrike missiles streaking down into the mass, the rear of their underwing rocket pods flaring in spiral patterns as they loosed orange glowing parabolas of destruction down on the leading edge of the Hounds of Abaddon. And ahead of that, a full regiment of Kazakin crewing bunkers and casements, their hellguns filling the air so thick with white lasers it burned an afterimage into Glaive's eyes, even through the tinted lenses of his helm. "Frickin' throne," he swore, blinking the purple streaks out of his vision. "God Emperor," said Kristen. "They're still coming." Glaive looked back, and the Medicae had been right. Hundreds of heretic Astartes had simply disappeared, vaporized, or immolated into char. Yet more came, tearing through the snowdrift high ashes of their dead and shouting their war cry. "Blood! Blood! Blood!" "To positions!" Sergeant Veskaj reached back and clicked his Hellgun's reactor online. It spun up with a "Pwee!" "You know what to do. Kill as many as possible." "It's what I was born to do, Sarge," responded Glaive. He raised his newly issued melter gun and kissed the Aquila crest on the frame. It was not a bayonet, but if Abaddon came, it would do. Around Creed's holoprojector, tactical officers shouted updates and reports, navigating data slates and flipping clamp-bound intelligence binders with one hand, the other pushing their microbeads deeper into their ears. A dozen messenger skulls hovered like buzzing insects above a pond, awaiting answers to their queries. To one side, a Mechanicus tech priest chanted Benharic code prayers as his mechadendrite finger cabling attempted to stabilize the image on the overloaded holotable. Ahead, a shell arced over the outhabs and landed just ahead of the Sororitas formation, marshalling in front of the command bastion. Faces were grim. Word had gone out to the salvation bunkers, but Voxnets had been mangled badly, and the Valkyries dispatched to hand-deliver orders were being preyed upon by Drakes. Creed's error on Zero Day coming back to bite them again. 36 hours, Kell thought. We have to hold them 36 hours. He tried to calm himself by immersing into the familiar chorus of an active stratagem, a mix of murmuring voices and artillery fire. Second Kazakin reporting hard contact, hand-to-hand fighting, casualties significant. Body and 44th Steelhearts now engaged. Initial losses. Lads Demon among the gun crews in wall section Citadel North. They are... We're seeing total breakdown among 33rd units on the wall. They're abandoning positions. You. Cree pointed to the last tactical officer. Ravi, is it? What are you saying about the 33rd? Full retreat, sir. Ravi, unlike the others, did not hold her ear as she worked. One had been replaced by an inbuilt augmetic. We thought it was just a pullback from the trenches, abandoning positions that couldn't be held. Fighting withdrawal. It's not. They're running. Full flight away from the gate, along the wall and out into the streets. If they're not defending the wall, that means there will be more breaches. And we can't... Word had gone out to the salvation bunkers, but Voxnets had been mangled badly, and the Valkyries dispatched to hand-deliver orders were being preyed upon by Drakes. Creed's error on Zero Day coming back to bite them again. 36 hours, Kell thought. We have to hold them 36 hours. He tried to calm himself by immersing into the familiar chorus of an active stratagem, a mix of murmuring voices and artillery fire. Second Kazakin reporting hard contact, hand-to-hand fighting, casualties significant. Body and 44th Steelhearts now engaged. Initial losses. Lads Demon among the gun crews in wall section Citadel North. They are... We're seeing total breakdown among 33rd units on the wall. They're abandoning positions. You. Cree pointed to the last tactical officer. Ravi, is it? What are you saying about the 33rd? Full retreat, sir. Ravi, unlike the others, did not hold her ear as she worked. One had been replaced by an inbuilt augmetic. We thought it was just a pullback from the trenches, abandoning positions that couldn't be held. Fighting withdrawal. It's not. They're running. Full flight away from the gate, along the wall and out into the streets. If they're not defending the wall, that means there will be more breaches. And we can't funnel them into the outhub warrens properly. No, sir. Kell? He asked. The orders. Kell did not need to ask what orders he meant. Sir? It's time, Creed said, holding out an expectant hand. Hurry, Jaren. Now, please. Kell pulled the two plasteel scroll caskets from beneath his breastplate, where they'd rested ever since the sobering night he'd presented Creed with Lucas Baston's sword. General, he said, handing them to his commander. Creed stepped close to the junior-grade tactician and spoke low. Take these. Listen to me. Ravi, eyes on mine. This is important. Take them yourself. No servo skulls, no transmission. Do it in person. Take my Valkyrie and a fire team of Kazakin. One goes to Air Marshal Shroud, the other to Logistar General Rake, who may have further orders for you. Do not open them, and do not let anyone but those two open them. No one. Not even the goddamned risen Emperor himself, you understand? Yes, sir, but my station... I will put someone on your station. Go now. With speed. She ran. You, son, Creed gestured. With the bionic throat. You, stand in for her. Keep your eye on that wall as... He trailed off. Frick! Creed exclaimed, tugging at his finger. Dumb frickin' son of a... Kell stepped in. What is it, General? Forgot to put my seal on the damned caskets. He pressed his signet ring into Kell's hand. Catch her, Kell! Don't let her get on the Valk without stamping them! Real panic gripped Kell's throat. He should have noticed. Should have absolutely noticed. But the babble of the stratagem and lack of sleep was making him sloppy. If they went out unsigned, Shroud and Rake might not know the orders were serious. Might think they were enemy disinformation and leak them to intelligence. Hand them to Inquisitor Talia Frecking de Verna. Then they'd all be against a wall. He took off at a run, grabbing the Vox officer Cormacan and dragging him along. Ping the Valk. Tell it not to take off until we've seen Ravi. Absolutely do not lift, understand? He switched on his chest-mounted Vox-hailer. Ravi! Tactical Officer Ravi, halt where you are. We have further order. On the communication bridge to the Valkyrie platform, he saw her nutwood skin and black hair flash as she turned around, as if unsure she'd heard correctly. Ravi, come! The explosion threw him forward, the thunderclap bang of it slapping his eardrums so his hearing turned to a whining tone of tinnitus. He was on his knees, would have fallen except for the colours of the Cadian 8th, which held him partially upright. Cormacan was rolling, holding his arm. Creed. Oh, throne! The Lord Castellan! The crater on the Bastion's command deck was 20 feet across. A direct hit. Where tactical officers once circled a command table was now just a hole in the rockcrete, punctured by twisted plasteel rebar. A junior tactical officer lay to one side, her impeccably pressed ivory command uniform unmarked, despite the fact that her lower half in its blue trousers lay shoved against the opposite parapet. Two messenger skulls wiggled drunkenly through the air, unharmed apart from the blast hooking their wire message cages together. Asaka! Kel shouted, forgetting in his panic the proper mode of address. Asaka! He tossed the collars of the 8th to a stunned orderly and plunged into the shell hole. His boot heels slid in the loose scree, and he went down on his back, slithering into the cone. Asaka! He saw a uniform sleeve emerging from a rubble pile and ignited his power fist, using the limb's artificial strength to lift a shelved piece of rockcrete the size of a hatch off it. The limb rolled free, and he saw the gold braid and red facings of a naval attaché. Nearby was a piece of fabric stained grey by atomized rock, but when Kel brushed it clean, he saw it was the red robe of the tech priest. Asaka! A noise answered, coughing. He found Creed below a piece of rockcrete the size of a coffin lid. The Lord Castellan was dusted, grey as a ghost, his hands over his face. He'd only survived because the crushed housing of the holotable had taken the weight of the falling slab. Medicare! Medicare, here! Kel shouted, letting the slab fall aside and kneeling. Asaka! General, sir! Are you hit? Creed moaned, sat up. General, are you... I can't see, Kel. I can't bloody see. Don't try to move, sir. Friggin' Medicare! Throw damn it, where... The section Medicaid slid down beside them, his butterfly zip kit already open. What do we have? How is he? Creed started. He says he can't see. Concussion blindness, the Medicare said, clicking on a handheld stab light. Sir, if you could put your hands down. Creed started, then coughed out chalky dust. His face was covered in the rockcrete powder, with clean trails in the pattern of his fingers. Sir, don't speak, said Cal, putting a hand on Creed's shoulder. Concussion blindness. That can be temporary, right? Shell shock? Could be. The Medicaid upended a canteen over the Lord Castellan's head to wash away the debris, and shined his light in Creed's squinting eyes. But it could also be detached retinas, trauma to the brain's visual center, even internal damage from the pressure change. Creed slapped the stab light out of the Medicaid's hand. Will you freckin' sons of deserters listen? It's not freckin' concussion blindness. It's this thrown damned freckin' thing. He thumped the triangular refractor field on his chest. Bastard flashed like a photon grenade when it went off. I told you I don't like these things, Kel. You're better off than the rest of the command section, Kel said. Creed looked around. Oh, shit. They got damn close, didn't they? Too close, said Kel, turning towards the crater rim. Cormacan, sir? The Vox officer looked down. He was pressing one arm against his chest, with the other hand on the Vox receiver built into his helmet. Are you wounded, Cormacan? No, Colour Sergeant. Just an arm fracture. I'll be fine. Raise that damn militia, Colonel Gent. Ask him what he's doing about those artillery spotters. Actually, he's on the Vox now, sir. He says it's locked in. It was the first one that had been the most difficult, Salvar Gent reflected. But that was always the case, wasn't it? The first credit you stole, the first sexual conquest, the first murder. You had to get over that initial one before you had confidence and momentum. This was the same way. At first, with only 2 of the specialist Voxes, they hadn't been able to triangulate the signals when they picked them up. Both Vox operators would scan up and down the bandwidth before they hit on a signal. Then they'd both tune to it and wait, hoping they'd catch a request for a strike, and there would be a second follow-up message acknowledging the hit or walking the second barrage closer to target. But with 2 Voxes, they only caught the direction of the broadcast, meaning that even when they dispatched their teams of triggermen, the search parties had to comb half a district top to bottom. Finally, they'd staked out a likely target, an airfield against the Citadel wall, and waited. It took them 3 searches and 3 separate broadcasts, but they found the woman at the top of a chimney stack in an abandoned manufactorum, camped out on an internal maintenance catwalk. Then they had 3 Voxes, and things became easy. They got momentum, learned the broadcast patterns and types of places the spotters like to hide. Trigger teams fanned out all over Craft, embedding themselves in districts and waiting for a call to bring them coordinates. They shoulder barged doors and hablocks, climbed up weather monitoring towers, kicked down the sheet metal walls of rooftop sheds. Each time they ended it with a blistering hammer of shots from their short-pattern autocarbines, the kind with drum magazines that were easy to hide under a cloak. Each time they got another Vox, and their citywide interception net became larger and more tightly webbed, able to catch the really cunning fish, like this one. The Vox hissed. The bell ringer put the magnocular scope up to his eye, the broad form of his back hunched over the specialist Vox. His positioning was brilliant. A northwestern bell tower that had a clear view west all the way out to the curtain wall, but could still see the northern Citadel marshalling ground through a screen of gun towers. He put the magnocular down and reached for the receiver, and Ged distantly observed that he had a clubbed hand. "Is that why you didn't change your broadcast channel?" he asked. "Is it hard for you with the one hand?" The bell ringer's hand froze over the receiver, then relaxed. "It's you," he said, turning. "For a minute I thought—" His words trailed off when he turned around. Whomever he'd expected to see, it was not Gent in his rumpled officer's greatcoat and slicked hair, a pair of Aquillas shining at his throat. "There was a lot of trouble finding you, did you know that?" Gent said. "Good spot you have here. We expected whoever was dropping ordnance up north was in the northern district. It stands to reason, right? You shouldn't be able to see the northern muster fields from here, at least not normally. But then we remembered that melter torpedo yesterday. Punched right through the sky shield. Dud, supposedly, but still brought down the Hydra flak tower that was blocking the line of sight between here and the muster field." The bell ringer's throat worked, the knot there bobbing. "Wow!" the Vox bleated. "Shh, sweetheart.
Shout it to the heaven.
First light approaches.
destroyed. Your inhibitor has been destroyed.
Chosen of the sun.
An enemy is godlike. Slain. Aced. Shut down. Enemy killing spree. Your turret has been destroyed. Shut down. Shut down.
I will protect you.
An enemy has been slain. Double kill. Ace.
Party. Blood red.
Killing spree. An ally has been slain. Your inhibitor has respawned. Your team has destroyed a turret. Ally has been slain. inhibitor has been destroyed. A summoner has disconnected. Defeat. slain. An enemy has been slain.
We did it! We knocked him over!
An ally has been slain.
Where's my fishy fish dish? Gravity well.
Has been slain.
Is it time to save the world again? I'll protect you with my wild and furious. Meow.
An enemy is unstoppable.
Receive your fate.
An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain. Enemy has been slain.
Do you want me to bury that? With my enemies.
First dominated for now.
Fishy fish for my dishy dishy dish.
slain.
Where to, book?
Your turret has been destroyed.
So, you need a new shield, buddy?
Your team has destroyed a turret.
If we find a rat, I call dibs. Or a bug. Or a fish. Takes pride in what's happening to you. You are now part of the legend of Kunana.
Has been slain.
It's okay. We've got 6 left. Or was it 5?
An enemy has been slain.
The expert huntress stalks the battlefield. Now you're ready to prowl. This is my favorite chapter! We can fix this! That's
An enemy has been slain. Your turret has been destroyed. An enemy has been
to save
slain.
the world again.
Your turret has been destroyed. An enemy has been slain.
Rubbing my head on your means you're mine.
spree. Legendary. Your turret has been destroyed. Your team has destroyed a turret.
I guess we're going this way. I won't lose you, Book. Not after losing Master.
Legendary. Rampage. An ally has been slain. Legendary.
They aren't ready for this close team up.
Shut down. An enemy has been slain.
Now you're ready to prowl.
An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain.
We got the zoomies.
Enemy has been slain. Enemy has been slain.
5.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
We got the zoomies!
Rampage. Shut down.
Witness the singularity!
An ally has been slain. Your team has destroyed a turret. Shut down. An enemy has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
Okay.
The enemy's inhibitor has respawned.
You do know how to prowl, right?
Your team has destroyed a turret. Your team has destroyed
Now
a
you're ready
turret.
to prowl!
Ace.
I'll stick with you.
Your team has destroyed an inhibitor. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor.
Where to, both?
Your team has destroyed a turret. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor.